Why do people do what they do? I don't think anybody really knows why people do what they do. And in a lot of cases, we individuals don't always know why we do what we do. And I want to talk about this. I want to talk about events that have led to me being a nomad and living full-time in my minivan. A minivan Lee. I do live full-time here. This is my minivan. Right here is where my passenger seat used to be. Here's my captain's chair, steering wheel. I'm perched up on a bin. This is my overflow food bin. Hi. I did make you some coffee, so here you go. There's yours. Mine. Cheers. Let's have some coffee. Let's just relax. It's Sunday. Let's relax. I don't know what day you're watching this, probably Monday or Tuesday, but for me it's Sunday. Kind of like easy like Sunday, yeah. Good coffee. Well, I want to talk about a couple of events that happened in my life that just recently I realized that they influenced me to really desire this type of lifestyle. I mean, they weren't the catalyst that, I'm just going to hop in my vehicle and take off. But they influenced me to want something better. Now, why would I want to live in a minivan? Why would anybody want to live in their vehicle? Why? It's small. I mean, I don't own a lot of things. I'm very minimal because I can't carry them. I don't have the room to do that. Now, some of you are sort of half-time nomads. You still have a home, but you go on trips. You have a minivan or an RV, a high-top van, a build-out, like a Econoline van. But why would somebody want to live in a minivan full-time? Well, I'll tell you, I was laying in my bed. I do sleep right here. I sleep in my minivan. And I was just laying here thinking one morning. And these incidences came up, these events in my life. And I thought, well, yeah, these are happenings that influenced me to want to not live in a sticks and bricks anymore. What they did was they turned me off from them. Now, I'm only going to talk about 2 events that happened. And then there's 2 more that happened. A little bit more on the violent side. And I will reveal those in a couple days. There's no way I could fit all of that into this video. But I think it's worthy to talk about. It's worthy to tell you about why somebody would want this. Because I know a lot of you are watching and you're in your homes. You think, why would I want to live in my vehicle? I know a lot of you say, I wish I was living in my vehicle. But everybody has a reason why they would be drawn, drawn to this lifestyle, being a nomad, or however you want to talk about it. I consider myself sort of a day tripper. A little bit different meaning than what the Beatles have, but I think it's appropriate to call myself a day tripper because I do like city life. For the most part, I do. And my travel partner, Paul, we hang out in cities. We're in Tucson right now. I've lived in Tucson for 40 years. So these stories that I'm going to tell you today are from Tucson. So without further ado, let me get started. I won't make it such a mystery to go on and on with it. But I would like you to be thinking while I'm talking of maybe if you are interested in this lifestyle, like what would influence you to say, I like that. Why would you like that? What is the reason you would like it? Whether it be positive or negative things that have happened. I do talk about every once in a while that, I remember when I was younger, and my mother would put over a blanket over our dining table, or she'd set up a card table for my friend and I, and we would play underneath it. And I always thought this like a little clubhouse or a little house in there. And I do sort of almost in a childlike way think about my minivan as sort of a little clubhouse. I do have the Facebook group Minivan Lisa's Nomad Life, and I do call it the Cool Kids Club. This is Cool Kids Club headquarters right here. I've got it fixed up pretty nice, and it's cozy for me, and I live full time. Just in case you're sort of new to my channel and new to this lifestyle, I will mention there's thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of us out here living in our vehicles. Some of them even SUVs, even smaller than a minivan. So what would be an influence in my past that would make me say, when I did finally see this lifestyle being portrayed on YouTube by other nomads, the earlier nomads, me say, wow, that's what I want. What would influence me to say that? You'd think I'd be really happy in a house. I mean, it's got a bathroom, it's got sink, it's got kitchen, it's got a bedroom, it's got room to move around in. I can actually have internet in the house. I can have a router. I don't have to worry about my cell. Am I going to get cell coverage? Which, by the way, recently it's really been tough. It's been hard answering your questions. I usually have to do it on a video because it's hard at there's certain pockets throughout the city that I'm not getting good cell coverage. So if I was in a house, wow, I would have a router and I could do that. Well, the influence in my life, part of it was leaky roofs, renting homes with eventual leaky roofs. That's a rough way to go, having a leaky roof. Having water coming through into your house because you're renting. You're not going to go out and pay to have the roof fixed. And if your landlord isn't going to do it for you, you're sort of stuck. And you know what? I think most of us know it's not easy to move. It's not easy at all. I mean, it costs a lot of money to do it, and a lot of heartache, and and then you have to pull your children out of their schools. It's not easy at all. So it's a real drag when you have a landlord or two landlords, because this happened to me twice, not once, but twice, where I lived in a home and eventually the roof leaked and they continually wanted to put Band-Aids on it instead of actually fixing it. I'm not a fool. I know that it's expensive, but you also have people living in your home. If you are a property owner and you're renting out your property and your home, to not take care of those people that are paying you rent. So, the first time, I still had two children at home. I had an adolescent and I had a teenager. And I had it with apartments because a lot of my other two stories had to do with apartment living. And it's not even just mine. It was somebody that is very near and dear to me, a family member, that this happened to her when she was living in an apartment. But I'll look for that because it's coming down the pike, and it's a scary story. So, but I had it with apartment living. And so I found a nice house. It was very small, but there were these track houses, sort of like these little houses off in its own little cul-de-sac. They weren't large. They weren't fancy. They were very affordable. I am a widow, and I did raise my children by myself. So I did not have this vast amount of money, in my bank account. So, I had to be careful with how I spent it. Well, they were just the cutest couple that had bought all these little homes. And a little bit younger than I was, just wonderful people. Oh my gosh. Talked about church. They were wonderful Christians. Beautiful looking, not just beautiful spirits, but they were actually very beautiful looking. Melissa and Ed. Well, I won't give last names. they were just thrilled to rent to me, and we were thrilled to be there. But eventually, their true, he wasn't that way, but her true colors really did come out. In Arizona, a lot of adobe homes, they're just flat. They're not like back east where you got the dip. Now, some of the homes in Arizona have a slant to it, of course. But a lot of the adobe homes are just flat. They have like a lip around the roof and, the perimeter. Well, and what we do in Arizona is we use Cool Coat. It's called Cool Coat. And because it's so hot in Arizona, it's a white, it turns into almost like a coating, and you roll it on. It's called Cool Coat, and you roll it on with a roller. You get up on the roof, and it's white, so it can reflect off any heat. Well, there was some, I could see the roof had some brown spots on it, yeah. And it was above my daughter's bedroom, right above her bed too. And they weren't big bedrooms, so it wasn't like we could really shift things around too much. Well, why should we have to, right? Well, what they did was they just put Band-Aids on it. They put Band-Aids on it until the winter, when I was there a couple years. The winter, I told them that it was in the winter we do have a lot of rain in Tucson. It comes from the Pacific coast. The monsoons in the summer come from the Sea of Cortez coming up in Mexico. But in the winter it comes from the Pacific, and it's a lot of rain. It's just more dispersed. It's not like a monsoon. Well, there was water on the roof. What happened was I would get up on a ladder and I would look at it. What happens is when you get a roof problem, it gets a depression in it. It's like a dip, and it just dips in. So water just sits there, and it just rots everything even more so. Well, if you're back east, architecture is different. These were adobe homes, not huge, one story. Most of the adobes are just one story. So you don't have a lot in between the roof and your ceiling, right? Well, I heard somebody up on the roof, and I went out there and I go, oh, what are you doing? I kind of climbed up. He was on the roof and climbed up on the ladder and looked. There was still water in the dip, but Melissa had called this fella to come and Cool Coat. I know. I told him, what are you doing? What are you doing? He goes, well, Melissa asked me to do this. I said, you still got water there. He goes, well, I tried to get most of it off. I said, well, you can't Cool Coat it now. And the Cool Coat is not going to help the leaky roof. Well, it got really bad, and they just really didn't want to do anything about it. Well, eventually, one day, it caved in all over my daughter's bed. And she happened to be on the property, which was like really surprising. She happened to be on the property that day talking to another tenant, and I told her to come and see. She eventually did. And she looked at me and I said, well, Melissa, what are we going to do? She goes, well, what do you want me to do? My daughter and I just like, oh my gosh. So I never felt good about them after that. So I got tired of renting. That was one more notch. And like, oh my gosh, I'm at the mercy of these people who seem so nice. But they turn out to be, I believe that every human being has the ability, and at the snap of a finger can turn pretty evil. They can become selfish, self-centered, greedy. Yeah. So this was their case. They did not want to fix the roofs. Well, later I talked to the maintenance man. He was an older fella, and he went up and looked at it, and he was very forthcoming with me. I don't know why, but he did say that they asked him to come out and look at the property before they ever bought it, and he told them that every one of these little houses need the roofs redone, but they never did it. So, well, that's that. I did call the city because You know, I was not happy with that. They came out and fixed it, and it was never the same between us, and I left. So entered my new place that I lived in for 15 years. Well, guess what? The same thing happened again. The last couple of years I was there, I told them that there were brown spots coming up, and I could see it wasn't so much that it was coming down here. I could see that it was ending up there, but it was eventually going down because it didn't have anywhere to go. It couldn't get through yet, and it was going down the side of the wall. This was a more historical house. And in Arizona, the architecture is, there's a space, the old Arizona homes, there's a space above, like the ceiling, and then there's a space here, and then the roof, and underneath the floor, there's a space. It makes for it, there's air that gets to flow because it gets so hot in Arizona. But this is the way this house was a real historical house, built in 1933, so, but for Arizona, for Tucson, that's kind of old. Well, eventually, they just wanted to put Band-Aids on it again, and they went through the same process. Well, we're going to send out the roofer. What he did was he cool-coated it, because they did not want to take and put on a new roof. I understand it's so expensive to do that. It really is expensive, and I get that. But still, you're causing damage to your property, and you're causing damage to your tenant's property too. So that was number 2. And it was from that house that I lived 15 years in. It was from that house that then I went on to become a nomad. And I got inside my minivan. But I realized that those two, that doesn't sound like maybe a lot, but those two incidences, because the owners of the historical home were Barry and Susan. I won't give last names, but I saw the evil come out in them too when they knew that there was possibly going to be a big expense coming down the pike. And just because I was saying to them, hey, the roof is leaking again, at the very end, well, what happened is I just lost all faith. I think I lost faith. And I said to myself, when I got my minivan, I'd given them notice, and I got in my minivan, I thought, oh my gosh, I don't want to ever rent again, ever. I don't want to rent again. I felt so free. Now, I didn't move out of there because, well, they did finally fix it. They did. And that wasn't why I moved. But I never felt the same about them, and I don't think they ever felt the same about me. When my daughter finally moved to Cincinnati, I knew that was it. That was the real catalyst. But the influence of wanting this lifestyle was from those 2 incidences, plus a couple more I'll talk about later. I don't want to rent anymore. I don't want to rent from anybody anymore. Now, I have talked about it. Yeah, we'll get an apartment or something like that. Paul and I maybe in a couple years. But thinking back, I mean, I really don't know if I even want to do that again. I don't know. It's very disruptive to your life when you know that you need to find a new place, you need to move, because things aren't going well. I have found in my life that landlords, property owners, if you complain, they become disgruntled. And so you don't really want to complain too much. Well, those are my stories. And so those are influences I had that when I saw the lifestyle of like living in a minivan was my ideal. When I saw van tours of minivans, I thought that's what I want. And I knew I did not want to build out because I like to sit on the ground. I mean, I just do. I like sitting here. I mean, this is my living room right now. Welcome to my living room. Cheers. If you knew, I mean, I take care. It's very clean in here. And I have, I try to make it look as nice as possible so that I'm comfortable here, the same as if I was in a home. Do I miss being in a home? Every once in a while I miss having a sink. I mean, seriously, sometimes in the morning, yeah. But what I do is I go to Planet Fitness and I get ready and do my hair, things like that for now. Or I just do it in my van. If I'm out boondocking, I just get outside and comb my hair outside, things like that. But so I guess in that respect, the only thing I really miss, I think, is having a sink with running water. I don't miss not having a toilet. I don't miss not having a kitchen. But I just wanted to share that with you. Please let me know if you are drawn to this lifestyle, what do you think influences you to want this lifestyle? What about maybe a past incidences in your life, or maybe your preferences, which a lot of your preferences in reality are affected by your incidences in your life, things that have happened and gone on in your life or in your family as you're growing up. They can determine what your preferences are. So why do people do what they do? I don't know. A lot of cases, we don't really know. And in so many cases, even we don't know why we do what we do. These things just came to me. I totally didn't put those two together. And the other things that I will talk about, I never really just wow, yeah, that's why this all appealed to me. So I hope you enjoyed this video and this little chit chat. And I hope that it made you think about not even just being a nomad or the lifestyle, but what influenced you maybe to want to do what you do, to have the kind of job that you do, or that you had. Maybe you're retired. What are those things that influenced you? Well, sometimes things get revealed to us at odd times, and mine was in the morning. I was just thinking about this, and these things kind of cropped up, and it was very revealing. So, well, I love you guys, and your energy is always in here. Those of you who really make a lot of comments, this channel actually belongs to you as much as to me, because your energy is in here. And when I'm talking to you, you know who you are, and I'm talking to you. So please leave comments, and I appreciate you spending time with me today. I really do love you guys. Go to minivanlee.com for neck gaiters and all those things. On Amazon, I've got How to Live in a Minivan, the Minivan Lee Way. And that's it. That's it for today. I love you guys. Bye.